Hey guys, happy Thursday and welcome to Tea Time. I am excited to be here and I'm a little bit nervous because I had a message that I wanted to, not a message, but a topic to talk about, and just a couple minutes ago something else popped up and I was like, oh shit, should I talk about that instead? But I hope you guys are doing well. So we'll see. We'll see where this takes us. Cheers. I hope you guys have your tea. I have a coffee today. So, hey. So, the concept today that I wanted to talk about was when plans don't go our way. Or when plans don't go our way. And I wanted to talk about my own experience with that and mention Vietnam and mention like me trying to go to Oregon. Hey, Efrain. How are you? So when plans don't go our way, how many of us get maybe sad or frustrated or we feel disappointed? Maybe there's a feeling of like failure. Like, how do you guys feel when plans don't go your way? Or anything else that I didn't mention? I know the times where I've had plans not go my way, I have felt disappointed and I have felt sadness with it and I have felt annoyed is like another word. And the things that pop up for me are when relationships and intimate relationships, when I've had a breakup, when I've planned a major change in terms of trying to move somewhere and it doesn't work out. And I've tried that once, and twice actually, and it's happened twice where it didn't happen when I wanted it to happen. And the first time it felt when I was trying to go to Vietnam, the first time around it didn't happen. And because of the situation that I was in, I didn't get to process what was going on. I was in a relationship at that time, so it was more of like I'm in love, like I'm gonna get married, like everything's fine. Yet there was a sadness behind it that I wasn't letting myself feel or share, and a bit of maybe like regret. And recently, last year, I was trying to move to Oregon at the end of the year, and towards the end of the year, I ended up surrendering, like it's just not going to happen on my time. And it felt again like there's a little bit of sadness, and there's a little bit of a feeling because I've been through this where there's like a trust of, okay, it's just not now and it's okay. Just because it's not now, it doesn't mean that it's never going to happen. And recently, something happened in life where like I got a new job and it's exciting and it's a job that I wanted and that I intentionally was applying and looking for. And when I first got the offer letter, there was a feeling of failure of like, man, I didn't make Oregon happen. Hey, Janet. So I'm talking about when things don't go our way, when plans just and how we feel in that moment. So there's a feeling of failure. And hey, Annie, I'm gonna start waiting on these because I talk and then I want to like repeat myself. How are you guys? So cheers. So again, like the topic today is when plans don't go our way. And I was a little nervous showing up because right before I had like this other thing to talk about and I was like, oh shit, like last minute changes, like what am I gonna do? And I'm like, you know what? We'll see. We'll see what comes up. But yeah, when plans don't go our way, how do you guys feel when you guys plan for something and it just doesn't happen? So I mentioned earlier how, from my experience, there's been feelings of like sadness and disappointment and annoyance and sometimes failure. And most recent has been like the wanting to move to Oregon and not happening. And again, so going back with that a little bit, um, it happened the first time like wanting to move somewhere and it not happening, and it just didn't happen on my time, but it did happen months later. And from that experience I was able to learn how to maneuver this whole other season in my life with similar like situation in a way. So most of you guys like know like I want to move to Oregon. My desire is to move to the mountains, near the mountains, to live in a different state. And last year, like I was planning for it and I really wanted to do it, and it seemed like things were lining up where I had a couple of job offers and that was super exciting. I had a friend's family member that was going to let me stay in their place, and then it ended up being where it was too far, and other stuff popped up where it became harder, where I wasn't going to have a car, and it was going to get harder to like get from a place A to place B, and then finances, and I kept trying. Like, I kept trying to figure out how I was going to make this work. And at the end of the year, last year, I ended up getting COVID. And during that space, I was quarantined for like three weeks, and then a month because my parents got COVID. And when I got quarantined for those 3 weeks, I officially surrendered. And what do I mean by like officially surrendered? I mean like I had surrendered before where like I journaled and I prayed like, universe, like if this isn't for me, like give me a sign. Or if you want me to just stop, like give me a sign. But I prayed and I meditated and I journaled and I kept trying to make it work. And during that time when I was quarantined, I officially surrendered like, okay, universe, like it's just not this time. Like, it's just not my season to leave and it's not my season to move. And if this is what it is, then okay. And during that season, it felt like I was trying to make it work in a sense where I was trying to fit like a triangle inside a circle where it just wasn't going in. And it also felt like I had to surrender. And there was a weight lifted off of me, which was super interesting. And yeah, and in that moment, like, from experience, like I mentioned before, like, you know, relationships haven't worked out, intimate relationships, like there's breakups, where I've quit a job, thinking that I was going to stay there longer, where I haven't had, like there's some jobs where I really wanted and I got an email back saying that, like, you know, they went to somebody else. So I've had other plans and goals where it just didn't work out, or where I felt rejected, or I felt like, okay, like, you know, and that just, you know, but something else came, and let me read what Ephraim said. Hey, Ingrid. I just had a conversation with a client about expectations versus intentions. I try not to create expectations, but set intentions and goals. This has helped me. So, Efrain, can you give me an example of expectations versus intentions? I would love to hear it. But I can totally piggyback on that. Because intention has a lot to do with the goal that you're setting. And not that I feel like I'm still realizing this, but when there's an intention of trying to run away from something or trying to hide something, or there's an intention of trying to mask something, it usually is like a pullback of coming back, and it doesn't happen. But it seems like when you go with an intention of, I don't want to say pure, like, intentions, but with a good intention of, like, what's the word? I can't, it doesn't come up right now, but when it's a different intention of maybe, like, being aligned, there you go. It seems like there's more flow to it happening, and it's so gentle, and it just happens. Hey! So yeah, like, I surrendered, going back to that little Oregon move, but yeah, I surrendered, and it didn't feel like a failure until recently when I got this job offer. And this job, again, intentional. The jobs that I've been applying for, even in Oregon, intentional. And they've been with intentions of, like, I want to work in a space where I can help and guide other people. Like, I want to work in a space where maybe it's like mental health. I want to work in a space where it's going to be fun with kids or with the youth. And so I've been intentional with the jobs, and I've been so blessed where I've had interviews and back-to-back interviews, and I've had offers. And with this one was like another blessing too, because it's the same thing, where it was intentional. And even when something else popped up, like I wanted to jump on it, and it's like, wait, no, like it's not aligning with what I want or with what I desire. Let me say no, and it might be a little bit of a struggle, but something else is going to come up. And that's something that I also want to piggyback on this whole conversation of when plans don't go our way. Um, but yeah, so I got the job offer, and it was the first time where I felt like a failure, where it was like, man, like I didn't make Oregon happen. And I was so excited, and I had told my closest friends, and like I told my therapist, and she was guiding me through the process, and it just didn't happen. And in that space, like I was reading like the email, and I felt it, but immediately there was a feeling of trust and a feeling of like there's something more. And that was it. Like, and I'm sure that's like my intuition, because intuition doesn't come with explanations. It was like a knowing feeling. And even right now, like I may not know what exactly that is, but it's a feeling that I am aware of that's there, and I'm choosing to be in that rather than the feeling of failure. And again, because of my experiences before, and I'm sure maybe you guys can relate, where when something doesn't happen, we always hear like something better is coming, or something not yeah better. And there's another thing that I hear a lot, like something better and bigger, there you go, is coming your way. And that's what I felt. And recently, like I've been reflecting on it, and I was like, not only just like bigger and better, like maybe those aren't like the right words that I want to use, but maybe something that's more aligned to my gut, to what I desire, maybe something that's more at ease, that's more peaceful and joyful than I could have imagined. So Ephraim said, for example, getting a job. I don't expect to get the job, but rather my intention is to get the job. Hmm. When I have set expectations for me, I think, and things don't go my way, it makes me feel really upset. When I set intentions, it gives me more room to reflect on how I can improve. Mm. There's other videos that I've had where I talk about like expectations, like when we have expectations of how things are supposed to be or how we plan and they don't happen, like we create our own suffering. Um, and you can see it, when you're in that space of, again, something doesn't happen and it's like, oh shit, like I had expectations and now I'm like upset or frustrated or annoyed. And yeah. So if there's anything you guys want to share, I'm trying to learn how to give more space. Thank you for sharing, Efrain. So yeah, like maybe there's like a moment in your life that you can reflect back to when, again, something didn't go your way or something didn't end up happening. It can be like a intimate relationship, maybe like a job offer that you didn't get. Maybe it could be I actually wrote some examples on here, like a promotion that you didn't get. This is my little tea time book. Dream it, do it. I prepare for these guys. Write some notes down, meditate before, and then let it go. Whatever comes through, comes through. Um, I put some examples. Oh yeah, so a job, a promotion, like a purchase as well. Like maybe we wanted to buy something and we were planning to do something with it and it didn't happen. A move, maybe like an acceptance of some sort. Again, it could be like a job or like a school offer or something like that. But yeah, if you, like just reflecting on that, how when it didn't happen, like what came afterwards or what came up in the following months. Like, did something bigger or better come through? Did something come through where it gave you a different way of looking at it, or you realized how you were so grateful that you didn't take it for maybe XYZ reasons? Maybe it gave you like a different perspective. Maybe you learned something about this and you didn't know before. Like just so much. And sometimes to get to these spaces, we just have to reflect a little bit and look back. And it feels good. It makes you feel more in that grounded space of trusting or of knowing in a way. So Ingrid said, I totally hate when you get high hopes and boom, you didn't get what you were expecting. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's like the I know, and it's like, how do you balance that too, right? When you are excited and you just naturally get excited and high, and then it didn't happen, right? Like, how do you balance that excitedness, high feeling with, like, I need to stay grounded, not grounded, but need to be open, I guess. One of the ways that I've tried to look at it is like being open to the possibilities of the best case scenario and then the worst case scenario. So even with my wanting to move to Oregon, like the job offers that I had, and even where I was planning on living, it was like, what's the best case scenario? Best case scenario, I love my job. It's exactly what I wanted. The place where I'm gonna be living at, the girl and I get along. Like we become really good friends and so forth. And then like I looked at like the worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, I hate my job. It's not what I wanted. It's not what I desired. The girl and I are not getting along. We're like literally pulling our hairs from each other. And worst case scenario is I come back home. And that's the way that I look at things. And when I do that, it still helps me, not helps me, but it doesn't take away from my high feeling. Like I'm still excited. And I think because I look at the whole picture, um, the downfall doesn't seem so heavy, if that makes sense. But yeah. So oh yeah, Ingrid, I need to work on that. So that's something that I've been doing. And it works. Something that I do also with my clients, and it works for them. So yeah. Um so that's really what I wanted to share. And something that I also like wanted to share is like the topic of like manifestation. How many of you guys know about manifestation and how that works? I'm sure all of you guys have manifested something one way or another, for fucking sure. Um, Ingrid said, what I do sometimes, I say too. What do you mean by that, Ingrid? Annie said, like in the new Spider-Man movie, expect disappointment and you'll never be disappointed. That's kind of like looking at like the worst case scenario, right, Annie? And because you've looked at it, you kind of don't have, it's not like it's gonna come from behind you and sneak up on you, in a way. That's the way that I'm imagining it. So, like manifestation, something that I realized from the goals or the plans or maybe the expectations that I've set up for myself is that, hey Sabrina, Annie said, yeah, exactly. Ingrid said, myself, the universe has something better for me. Yeah. Afrain said, what helps me when things don't go my way, I go back to gratitude. Yeah. Gratitude for what, Efrain? How are you, Sabrina? So the manifestation. Okay, so something that I also wanted to mention, because it's so interesting and it's something that, like looking back, seems that it's like a reoccurring pattern. Is that when it doesn't happen on my time, or when it's not happening, there's a block there. And let me see if I can like kind of reword this, because sometimes my mind's like da 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 da, bring it back to to English and correct sentences. But so okay, so going again. So when I've made plans, goals, um, that I wanted to achieve, when they don't happen, I've come to realize that there is a block that is there that's not making it happen. And I don't notice it right away, and I don't notice it like right after, but I notice it in the weeks or the months following. Excuse me. And I can give like two examples. Like one again would be back to like me planning the moving to Vietnam the first time, where it didn't happen, got into a relationship, almost got married, ended up breaking it off, and felt that sadness, that regret a little bit of not leaving for the first time. Didn't speak about it, but following the breakup and following the months afterwards, it was this realization of, oh, I was so afraid to be alone. Like, oh, I was so afraid to not have somebody to be intimate with or to not be with my family and friends when I moved abroad. And again, it's not something that I consciously knew that was a fear when I was planning for the move abroad, but that block itself blocked me from moving abroad. And I did my own personal work with it. Like, I read one of Gabby's books, The Universe Has Your Back, and she had like journal entries of fear and all this stuff, and my own journaling and meditations. And also because I had gone through this whole experience of engagement in a relationship, and I was reflecting on that too. And I learned so much in those couple of months before I actually left the second time, when it actually happened, where I learned more how to set boundaries, where I learned more like how to be alone emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, where I learned more of like trusting the universe and that my parents were going to be okay, you know, that they don't need me, that my friends were still going to be here, like all these things. And I ended up leaving. Like months later, I ended up leaving. And I feel like the same is happening with the Oregon thing, where okay, it didn't happen this time around. There's a block there, and I think I've touched on it, and it's not something that I want to talk about just yet because it's like really really recent. But I'm in that space where I'm realizing like, oh, I see why it didn't happen, and like there's a little bit of a gratitude of like I'm glad that it didn't happen, or else I wouldn't have seen this while I was up there, because I might have been too high on a new move or too high on a new environment or so busy trying to like settle in. And it's like that aha moment, like, oh, okay. Sabrina said setting boundaries is so key. Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. And it's like whatever we learn in that space, when we reflect, it helps so much more to that dream, to that plan, to that goal. So again, like whatever I learned through that relationship and like the aftermath of it, like it helped me so much more navigate. It helped me so much more to navigate me living abroad. Where if I would have went the first time around, it might have been a little bit more chaotic, and I might have felt like so many more feelings, and who knows, maybe I would have come back because I wouldn't know how to like process the whole thing. But the same thing with this season in my life, where whatever I'm learning now and whatever I'm touching on is going to help me so much more for the next season in life when I move. Because the plan is still to move. I still want to live near the mountains. I still want to leave California. And like Ingrid said, trust the process. Trust the process. But yeah, that's something that like I was noticing, like, oh, it's a pattern. So there's some juice there, guys. There's so much juice. So just a little reminder, you know, like if you make plans, goals, if there is something that you are looking forward to and it doesn't happen, like it doesn't mean that it's just never gonna happen. It's just not happening in the moment. Um, it still it still can happen, and it still will happen, and it doesn't mean that it's a no forever. So Sabrina, setting boundaries is so key. I totally agree. Last week I did a tea talk about setting boundaries, self love, and setting boundaries for ourselves in spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical. Sabrina said, reflecting on our past seasons help us see what we want and don't want or necessarily need for our present season. Yeah. There you go. So it's like reflecting on our past seasons gives us more clarity. I love that. That's so true. Because as I'm reading that, I can pinpoint on how this season of my life and wanting to move has given me so much clarity on what I do want and don't want. Yeah. Thank you for that. So reflecting, guys. So, so big. So anything else that you guys would like to share? Any questions? That's what I wanted to talk about today. And kind of share like that part where like the feelings that come with it when it doesn't happen. I was a little um what's the word? Nervous to share that I felt like a failure um with it not happening, or when the choice was made that it wasn't going to happen. There's a little bit of maybe shame or embarrassment of, man, like I was so excited and like I shared it to my close friends and like it just didn't happen, and it took me again like a reflection, right, to kind of like just be okay with it and be okay how it's part of life, and it just happens. It just totally happens and it's okay. So yeah. So that's what I wanted to share. So I'm probably going to end this. Experiences are life lessons. Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. So, so true. I was going to say, like, life is like a huge classroom. Okay, guys. So thank you guys for showing up. Love you too, Sabrina. Thank you for showing up. Um, so I wanted to share this with a prayer from Gabby Bernstein. Um, and yeah, if you guys have anything else that you guys want to talk about or like questions or anything like that, like reach out to me. We can totally talk about it. And I'll let you know more of this like later on with what I've been reflecting and realizing and all that good stuff. I'm sure it'll be part of my tea time in the next couple of months. But yeah, much, much love, guys. I love you guys. Thank you for showing up. And I'm gonna end it with this little prayer, or yeah, I'm gonna say a little prayer by Gabby Bernstein. And this is how it goes. Today I surrender my goals and plans to the care of the universe. I offer up my agenda and accept spiritual guidance. I trust that there is a plan far greater than mine. I know that where there once was lack and limitation, there are spiritual solutions and creative ideas. I step back and let love lead the way. Thy will be done. There you go. So much, much love, guys. Bye. Love you, Annie.